When I think of disappearances, the first thing that comes to mind is
Death.
life, death, and growing old are a part of the human experience. The thought of death has terrified humanity since the beginning of time. We all want to know how our last days are going to look like. Will you be laughing with friends and family? Or has destiny reserved a more cruel fate for you? What if you disappear without a trace, and no one ever finds out what became of you? This actually happened to a small village in Canada. The name of the bizarre site is called Lake Anjikuni. The story takes place in Canada in 1930, during a cold, snowy winter. Fur trapper Joe LaBelle was in search of shelter from the cold. He would arrive at the small indigenous village of Lake Anjikuni. At first glance, everything seemed to look fine, but the once busy and lively village was deserted. Fires were left burning, food storages were intact, and personal belongings were left behind. Joe feared that something terrible had happened to the settlement, so he continued to investigate, and what he found next was disturbing. Joe found zero evidence of the village's disappearance. It's almost as if the people of the village just vanished up into the sky. What's strange is that the dead bodies of the villagers were also missing from their graves. Whoever or whatever did this spared no one, not even the dead. After Joe witnessed the eerie scene, he decided to hike to the nearest telegraph pole so he could get in contact with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. A couple officers were quickly dispatched upon receiving word of a mass disappearance. But as the officers were making their way to the village, they encountered a trapper named Armand Lawrence along with his two sons. The officers questioned Laurent and his sons if they've seen anything strange in the area recently, to which Laurent replied that he saw a strange object in the sky a few days ago. Lawrence said that the weird object he spotted was airborne, capable of changing shape, and that it looked like it was headed towards Lake Anjikuni. Once the Royal Canadian Mounted Police officers arrived at Lake Anjikuni, to their horror, they confirmed that the information received from Joe LaBelle about the village was true. The village at Lake Anjikuni was in fact deserted. Immediately, the officers got to work and searched for any evidence of the disappearance, but they came up empty. The officers would then issue a search party for the missing villagers, but they found nothing. What's unsettling about the search is that bright blue lights started to flash in the sky as the officers began their search and rescue of the Lake Anjikuni residents. The officers stated that they saw bright blue pulsing lights over the village as soon as they began their search. The weird lights, mutilated graves, and lack of evidence isn't even the creepiest part of this whole story. The most horrifying part of this whole account was the fact that the people of Lake Anjikuni had been missing for 2 whole months before Joe LaBelle even made first contact. If the villagers of Lake Anjikuni were missing for 2 whole months, who's been living in the village this entire time?